Hey guys, it's Tim Shermack, and welcome back to another episode of the Platform Marketing Show. I'm joined today by Kimberly Music. Kim, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back.
So, we've had Kimberly on the show before, and I think what we've talked about most is your obsession with diligent follow up. I think you have cultivated that habit of getting really good at following up with your leads and not leaving that to chance. I know there's a lot of agents who get a lot of leads and they play this passive game of like, well, maybe they'll call me and I'll wait till they message me. But you really go on the offensive and you make sure that, hey, if a lead opts in, I'm going to call them multiple times. I'm going to email them. I'm going to text them. I'm not going to let leads slip through the cracks. We will eventually get to that, but I want to kind of focus this conversation on the big picture progress you've made in your business. I know that you've had a bunch of wins over the last couple of years, but do you remember what month or year it was when you joined the platform program?
October 2023.
Okay, October 2023. So we're actually almost about 2.5 years in right now. Tell me about what your business looked like then at that moment in October 2023. Did you have a team? What was the volume? What were the expenses in your business? Because I think that was back when you had a big team still, right?
A brokerage, yeah.
Yeah. And then let's compare and contrast that to what your business looks like now. What are the expenses? What's the overhead? And how much volume are you doing? Because I know that has changed a lot in the
hmm
last couple of years. And the punchline to this story is that Kimberly is actually making a lot more money now and actually keeping a lot more money than she was several years ago. So I'll let you tell that story. Where was your business at in October 2023 versus where is it now?
Yeah, so October 2023, my babies were about to be a year old. I was running a brokerage. At this point, I think I had just reached that 20 to 24 agent threshold. And we were on a trajectory that year to do, I think our first year we did 80 million in sales as a brokerage. And we were on trajectory to do right at 100 million in sales with 24 agents.
And how much of that was you?
20 million of that was me.
Okay. Okay.
And then another 5 million of my husband. So if you really look at it, it's really me doing 25 million because he was just the face and I did everything else once it got to the contract portion. So with that, my overhead expenses were $36,000 a month.
A month or a year?
A month. $846,000 in 2 years is what I had told from stage at Platform Mastermind.
Okay. At that point, you owned your own brokerage. You weren't
hmm
affiliated with EXP or LPT or anything like that. You owned your own brokerage and you were spending 36 grand a month
hmm
on keeping that brokerage kind of afloat. I don't need a line by line breakdown of everything, but where was most of that money going? Was it all just renting an office? Was it lead gen? I mean, what were the big expenses there?
The big expense was lead generation. We were anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 a month. I was buying online
Okay.
internet leads because I thought more was better. And obviously, I love calling my leads, following up with my leads. I had all these agents who wanted to call leads, but ended up never calling leads.
Yeah.
So it all fell on me. And I'm one human. I can't make 1,000 calls a week.
Yeah, agents will always tell you, and this is true if you have a team of 25 people or a team of 2
Yeah.
people, that, oh, I want leads. I will come to your team or your brokerage or whatever if you can give me warm leads. What they mean is that if you can tee them up with someone who's like already ready to go on a showing, then they love that. What they want you to think is that they're willing to follow up with cold leads and do all the follow up to get to that
hmm
point. But there's what they say versus what they actually want. Like 99% of agents are not willing to call and follow up and set appointments. They want the appointments set for them, right?
Yeah. And so we were obviously buyer heavy, not
Yep.
taking as many listings as I wanted to when I first joined platform. Man, it was a whirlwind of a few years. And honestly, Tim, I'm a lot more profitable now, which we'll get to, but I'm still catching up from that pitfall. It's not a failure unless you quit, but I am still playing catch up financially from those IOUs, basically, because when I decided to shut it all down, I mean, I hit a depressed state. I was just done. But on pen and paper, we looked like we were doing amazing. 24 agents. I grew one agent to 10 million her first year. I grew several to 5 and
Yep.
6 million their first year. And they were taking home 80% of their commission check. When I did the math with Lauren Duke, I was taking home 5% or less of my commission check. And everything else was going to bills and going to them and feeding their
So
lifestyle.
you were personally selling almost $25 million a year, which that alone puts you in the top 1% of agents for sure. The problem was all the money coming from that, because basic math tells me that's probably what, $600,000 a year of GCI if you're selling 25 million. All of that was going to basically pay the bills for your team, to pay for all their marketing and pay for the big office lease you had to have that many people on a team, all the various software licensing. So you were selling a lot, but it was going to basically subsidize the fact that you owned this, frankly, unprofitable team. And I think, by the way, that phrase is almost redundant, saying an unprofitable team, because the vast majority of teams are unprofitable. Yeah, that's kind of like the open secret in the industry. I'm just not impressed when I hear people say that they have 10 people on a team or 100 people on a team, or when they talk about sales volume numbers, because what they never say is, well, what's your take home pay?
What
Like,
should be an L show is what I want to see.
Yep.
And the whole reason why I did it, started up the brokerage, was because I had so many agents coming to me wanting to learn and grow from me. And honestly, I felt that was the next step, because that's what we're taught in this, is to, start a brokerage, start a team. Once you hit a certain volume, you have to do this. And, being a 30-year-old broker was just not logistical anymore for me.
So what changed that made you kind of pivot and realize, okay, this looks really successful on the outside, on the surface, it looks like I'm killing it, but actually I'm bleeding money every month? Was there like a point of no return? What made you decide I need to change this? Because I know you worked with Lindsay and Lauren. Did you kind of reach the realization before you worked with them, or was it in working with them that you kind of realized? What catalyzed that change?
That's a real good question. So for me, it was a lot of my husband just saying, Kim, when is it going to get better? And I'm like, it's going to get better. I just would not let it go. It was pride and ego driving this decision. So it took Lindsay and Lauren breaking down the numbers, sitting with me, and just let me boohoo my eyes out to them to be like, oh shit, I got to shift, because we hired my mother-in-law to be a full-time nanny for the twins and for my 7-year-old. But when the twins started talking, they started calling her mom or mama. And so I would come home and it was like, no, we can't do this anymore. So I called Lindsay and I was like, maybe I could just figure something else out. So I talked to Alana, went to Real. So now we shift from brokerage to team, and I kept 14 of those agents. Again, for a whole year of suffering, not profitable. And honestly, they wanted more and more and more. And I'm like, at the end of the day, what are you bringing to the table for me to give you more? And I went on that retreat in Cabo with Lindsay, and I sat down with Lauren and her, and I said, when I get home, I'm firing everybody. And this was last year.
Okay.
And I let go of every single agent through text. I didn't even care at this point. And I kept my husband, but Lindsay
Well, that's good that you kept your husband.
Yeah. So Lindsay knew I fired everybody.
She kept you. You made the cut. You're the last survivor on the island.
Yeah, I know. Now he's project management for the development. A whole nother conversation. But Lindsay knew I fired everybody because the next day she saw computers and desks and chairs and everything for sale. So I stuck to my word and I did it. And honestly, I wish I would have done it sooner.
Yeah, I think a lot of team leaders or brokerage owners, because let's be honest, that distinction isn't a super strong distinction. If you're a team leader or a brokerage owner, it's basically the same thing. Just the only difference is paperwork. Often you care way more about your agent's success than they do, right? Mm-hmm. They'd be perfectly fine just doing a couple million a year, as long as all those deals are literally just handed to them on a silver platter. Yep. And your vision for their success and what that looks like is often very different from what their vision is. So sometimes you're like, oh man, I have to wind this down. I have to quote unquote fire these people. You forget that you're not really firing them because they're all independent contractor entrepreneurs. They're not employees. You have no duty to take care of them. It's not like they were on a payroll and they're losing their job. The whole partnership was supposed to be that they're an entrepreneur under your branding and guidance, but they're supposed to be an entrepreneur. But the fact that it's scary to lay them off kind of just shows that you cared a lot more about their success and that relationship than they probably did. Because we have to remember that these aren't actually employees.
No, they're not.
They should be self-sustaining entrepreneurs, but so often that's absolutely not what's happening. You are the entrepreneur. You have all the drive and ambition. You're taking all the risk, and they have an employee attitude towards you, but you're the only one who's actually driving any of that business. Okay, so you get back from this retreat. You had talked with Lauren, talked with Lindsay, you realize, okay, I need to make some changes. You basically let go everyone on the team. What happens next? How did that change the finances? Where does that put you?
So that was last year in October when this all transpired, like officially going, we'll call it micro, because I still have my husband. I had just one assistant, Hannah, doing all my paperwork TC, but I just hired on another assistant doing some extra stuff for marketing and client flyers and appreciation events, helping me do more events. And then I'm bringing on my older brother because it worked so well with my sister-in-law. Let's bring on another family member who's going to get his license and rock out the new construction to development with me. But when I made the transition, like I said, I'm still recouping from the financial pit that I ended up in. And I'm fully transparent on all of that. And a lot of people have worked with me, and I'm very grateful for that, for the partnership. I'm like, hey, like I am true to my word. I will catch up as soon as this closing happens. So I'm still kind of on that hamster wheel,
Yep.
but
So how much debt, if you're comfortable sharing, did you accumulate over those years of running this team? Where again, you're bringing in all the production and profit that's paying for the lead gen for all these other agents, but they don't even realize that you're actually racking up debt to keep this thing going. Like, what did the number get to?
when I had shut down the brokerage and moved and had that year long team, um, I don't like having bills left unpaid. So even though it took me 6 months to pay some of them off, there's still more because like I took what was important, the bigger
Yep.
chunks, and just did it.
Yep.
At that point in time, I think I was right at like $86,000 negative. But again, I have a family. We're a one income household. I still had a family to pay for, lights to put it on, pay for, a
Exactly.
roof
Yep.
over our head.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, do I pay my mortgage or do I pay this vendor?
Yeah.
And so I would
Yeah.
basically just like, look, like I am sorry, but I promise and I have been. And now I think I'm only like right at $10,000 total left. Um,
Awesome.
so I've busted ass to get to this point. And just talking in from say Q1 of last year to Q1 of this year, I was like right at 5 units sold and like 1.6 million in sales, but I had a big deal, so that was good. But then this quarter, I'm sitting at 3.4 million and 14 units closed. I have 9 active listings, several went under contract yesterday, so 9 as of today, and I'm sitting at like 2.6, 2.8 in pendings. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Where do you think you'll finish this year in terms of like sales volume? If you were to kind of like translate those numbers of what you've put up so far this year and extrapolate that over the rest of the year, where do you think you'll end up in terms of sales volume?
So Q2, I'm on track for about 8 million in sales. Um, and then just knowing like what's coming down the funnel, and then with the development and my regular 20 plus million a year,
Yeah.
I'm hoping to be tracking right at 35 million in sales.
So you've again shut down the team. You're really
Not paying
focusing
for
on
any leads this year. Like I haven't paid for a single lead.
yeah, you're focusing on your own production
Yeah.
versus trying to be the rainmaker for an entire team of agents that are, let's be honest, like
Hmm.
they're dependent on you, right? So now you're just providing for yourself. It's kind of like, when you're on a plane and you're supposed to like put the oxygen mask on first for yourself before you help others, kind of that same principle, right? So you're focusing your marketing and your energy on your own production. That has allowed you to go from, let's say, 20 million to now you're going to finish the year somewhere between 30 and 40 million, because we don't know how many of those you got this huge development, and I'm sure we'll get to that in a
Hmm.
second. But at a minimum this year you're going to do about 30 million. That puts your GCI at 30 million. That's like 750 in GCI,
Yeah, I did the math on that
something like
because
that.
yeah, so let's say 30 million in my market times by yeah, so right around like 800
Yep.
GCI.
Yep. I always like when I calculate it, I try to be conservative and I think, okay, every 10 million you're probably making 250,000 in GCI, because I just take like 2.5%, because I don't know what
Mhm.
split you have with brokers. I don't know if sometimes you discount your commission, whatever, but that's usually how I think about it. So at a minimum, let's say you're going to do somewhere between 700 and 800,000 GCI this year. That allows you to climb out of a pretty big hole. If you're doing 700 or 800,000 in GCI, that allows you to pay down, a lot of debt and probably still have a bunch of money left over. So that's amazing. Golf clap for you. That's incredible. Um, because again, when you joined platform, you were already successful. You were selling 20 million a year, but the problem was all that money was going to basically pay for this team that was losing money and draining your resources. Now you've almost doubled that from 20 million to, who knows, maybe almost 40 million
Mhm.
this year, but the difference is you're actually keeping all of that.
Hmm.
So a huge part of probably what your income is going to be this year is you've been selected to represent this big new housing development in your area. Tell me how that deal came about. How did you make that connection? Let's get the backstory on that because that's a pretty big deal.
So I was paying, 10 grand a month for leads. And one of those leads was a realtor.com lead. And I had nurtured that lead for a year and a half. Just text follow up, showings here and there, wait another 8 months, more showings, wait another 6 months. And finally, we found the condo of their dreams. Well, I screwed up big time. I had gotten a list of repairs that she was wanting done, and there was two texts, but I only saw the first text, and I sent that to my assistant. She prepped the paperwork. My client reviewed it and signed it, and we submitted it to the listing agent. They did all the repairs that was on that amendment to address concerns. Well, she calls me and says the rotten siding has not been replaced. And I was like, let me go and check in on everything first before I comment. And what I realized was it was my error. I did not send that portion of the text to my assistant to add in. I could have been a crappy realtor and been like, well, you reviewed it and signed it, so I figured you didn't want it. Um, but I didn't. Instead, I said, listen, I screwed up. I did not put this to my assistant. I know you reviewed it and signed it, but you also counted on me to have everything in there. I'll have it done and completed before the end of close, which was like a $3,500 uh-oh. And at the time, bleeding money is like, where am I going to get that money from?
Yeah.
So I
Yep.
did it. And 8 months later, I get an email from her. Thank God I was going through my emails. And it says, hey, give me a call. I've got a business opportunity. And I was like, okay. So I call her and she says, how have you been? This, that, and the other. We want to meet with you and a developer out of Atlanta for a project we're going to do in Darien. And I was like, well, heck yeah, sign me up, not knowing what I was walking into. So, long story short, 122 home development, uh, kind of a new model to our area, metal framed homes. All the homes like surround a courtyard, and there's like different clusters of courtyards. So, something we've never seen. And it's going to be very community based. But I remember sitting in that developers meeting and I was like, listen, I've never done this before. But what I do have is this marketing company I'm partnered with who we put ads out and that don't look like ads. And they get me like 100 to 200,000 views on my listing videos. And I sell a lot of homes now because of them. And no other agent can have it because I'm the only agent in my territory between like North Darien all the way down to Florida, Georgia line. And they just kind of look at me and I start showing them the numbers of what you guys do for me, platform marketing. And I said, but this is my plan. Like I walked in with a concrete plan, never having done this before. I said, I can put a sign lock box out, but here's my plan. I'm partnered with platform marketing. I'll build the website. I'll put in all the SEO stuff and the back end stuff to capture leads. I follow up with leads like a champion. Here's my track record. And I was like, in the last 5 years, I've sold 400 homes at 112 million in volume. And yeah, so if y'all choose me, great. If not, so I'm grateful for the opportunity. Thank you. And it took 3 months to hear back. And she called me and said that I had gotten chosen out of like four other brokerages in the area.
Amazing.
So that's it in a nutshell.
And now you get to represent 100+ new builds going up in your area. What is the average price point of those, are you thinking?
So the total project's going to be roughly 60 million total. So we're anywhere between say 300,000 to 500,000.
Awesome. And I think that's really important too because those should be pretty easy to sell because the price point is like palatable for your region. It's not like you're representing a high-end luxury development of $1.5 million houses that'll be really hard to sell, obviously. Like you're going to sell those units because that's the price point at which people in your area, that's kind of like middle class, upper middle class, right? So
Mhm.
that's a
Well, and
lot of
then
volume.
also it's on the river. It's going to have a marina. It's going to have a pool, pickleball courts, like secondary home buyers. But
Yeah.
what
Yep.
another side of things that people aren't, and this is where I said, like, I have no clue what my GCI is going to be or what my sales are going to be this year. And that's why I'm bringing on my brother is one, if the buyer decides not to buy in this development, that buyer is going to buy somewhere else. If you
Right.
follow up with that buyer
Right.
that's unrepresented, now you still get to sell the home in the development, but you also
Yep.
get to help them buy.
Yep.
And then what if they have a home to sell? Now there's a listing. There could be a potential of just so much. And if you don't follow up with these people,
Yep.
it's like everything I've gone through has led me to this opportunity. And there's other potential opportunities of a 90 plus townhome development, an 88 plus duplex development that I may, we
Yeah.
may end up doing if we buy the land and we move forward. So this one opportunity I feel like is about to change the whole trajectory of my life. And I just don't even realize the gravity of it yet, if that makes sense. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know what business is going to come from
Yep.
it, but I know just from my resale listings, I'm getting 5, 6 buyers just from those listings.
And it all comes back to marketing,
Yeah.
because marketing is what put you in that conversation, in that situation. It's what allowed you to actually look them in the eye in that meeting and
With
say, hey,
confidence.
yeah, like, you can choose other realtors, that's fine, but I'm going to get you way more exposure. I'm going to get these homes way more views and social media impressions and engagement than any other agent you talk to, and I can guarantee that, right? Look at the
Mhm.
numbers that I already have. I think that's one of my favorite parts of the platform strategy, is that, yeah, you can be a slick salesperson, you can handle objections, but even if you're not good at that stuff, like, maybe you don't consider yourself a natural salesperson, you maybe are one of those people who feels uncomfortable in high pressure negotiations, right? The platform strategy makes a conversation like that much more frictionless, because you can just be like, hey, look at the data. Here's how
Yeah.
much here's how much views and impressions I get my listings compared to the average agent. These are just the numbers, right?
Mhm.
And now you're just showing them data, and they can't argue with actual data, because at that point it's not subjective, it's not just your opinion, it's like, here's the actual numbers of what I
Mhm.
do differently from other realtors, right? And they're, if they're builders and developers, obviously they're very mathematically inclined, because math is their entire business. It's like, build something for X and sell it for Y. So if you can give them data like that most realtors don't have anything like that, right? Of course they chose you. It's not a surprise that they chose you. So I mean, who knows how much business that's going to bring in over the
Mhm.
next year or two? Because like you said, a lot of the business that'll end up flowing to you is kind of like the second order effects
Mhm.
of representing this new development. It's not even necessarily selling those homes, which you will obviously, but it's, hey, if someone changes their mind and they want to go buy something else, or if they already own a house, now you get to list that house. I mean, like, it's going to result in so much business for you. I'm stoked for you. That's going to be super cool. So, all right, you're on pace to do, we've established here, somewhere between probably 30, 40 million, maybe even more this year. So your business has like totally done a 180. You're basically
Mhm.
printing money now. Cash flow is good. I want to pivot and ask you about your day-to-day time blocking and follow-up routine. This is a very common question that we get in the platform, because people kind of know you. That's your reputation, right? That Kimberly just absolutely slays at doing follow-up and not letting leads slip through the cracks. Um,
Mhm.
we we don't have to spend a ton of time on this, because I know we've discussed this many times before, but how do you think you are able to be so effective in time blocking? Because I know most days you're spending at least like an hour every morning doing lead follow up. Why do you think you're able to do that, or what sort of like psychological habits have you cultivated that give you the willpower to do that you think other agents aren't leveraging? Because when I just say, hey, follow up with your leads for a day, it's as simple as putting an hour in your calendar and time blocking. It's not rocket science, right? Like, I
Yeah.
didn't just describe something super complicated. And yet you do it, Kimberly, and most agents don't. How or why have you figured out how to be so consistent with that, and so many other agents struggle with that? Does that question make sense?
Yeah. So I guess this is twofold because you got leads that have never been converted, and then you've got a database of people who like, know, and trust you and have done business with you. So you're following up with both, right? It really just depends on the day who I follow up with. I get spicy sometimes and change up my filters, but my minimum, bare minimum, is 100 leads, 100 dials, calls a week, or I have to go home and tell my kids that I failed them
A week or a day?
a week.
A week. Okay.
But that's the floor,
Okay.
right? That is 100 leads a week to where I know, okay, if I was so slam busy and showings and listing appointments and all the things, kids, summer, spring break, as long as I do my 100 dials a week, I know I have hit my floor. Okay, that's non-negotiable.
So let's assume that you're working 5 days a week. I know that you probably might work 6 days a week, some weeks maybe even seven, but let's say it's 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. 100 dials means that on the average day, at a bare minimum, because we're saying this is a minimum,
This
right?
is bare minimum.
That every day minimum you're calling at least 20 leads. So on that average day that you call at least 20 leads, what does the math look like in how many you typically actually get on the phone or have a conversation with out of that 20?
If we break it out of the 20, I'd say 3 to 4 conversations.
Okay.
So lately, I've been doing this 100 by 100 challenge. Now I've slacked off because we had a death in the family last week. But the 100 by 100 challenge is $100 for 100 days. And of the last 2 months that I've done it, I've added like 70 or so people in the pipeline who have said, I am interested in you still sending me listings. Am I going to close every single one of them? No, it's fine. But they have said, send me listings. We're looking at it. We've got these life changes, whatever. But we're looking to buy in the next 3 to 6 months. Some maybe 9 months. And some I've already closed out from that challenge. So I'm about to restart the challenge because I feel like I can't like pick up where I left off. I'm gonna have to just like go full fledged at it again. But it's hard. I mean, and it's meant to be challenging. It's meant to stretch you in ways that you've never been stretched before. Because between the kids and breaks and holidays and weekends, I mean, it's not the easiest thing to do. Um, there's days I can pump out 100 in a couple hours. There's days I can pump out 100 in 1 hour. But then there's days that it takes 3, 4, 5 hours to get it done, broken up into different sections. So that's obviously a challenge, but just hunt in the morning, feast in the evening. If you just say, okay, I take my kids to school by 8 a.m., go to the gym to like 9:15, come to the office, get ready. It doesn't take me but 10 minutes to get ready, and just start dialing. And you just protect that power hour as best as you can and save everything else for appointments and lunch afterwards.
So hunt in the morning, feast in the evening. Kind of the idea is like do the work that's maybe not as fun so that you can have fun and relax at night, knowing that you put in the work in the morning. For you, what that looks like being a real estate sales professional, obviously, is you're calling leads for at least an hour every morning. Now, one thing you just said there that many people I think might kind of gloss over or skim over is that you go to the gym every morning from about 8 to 9 a.m., something like that. I wonder how much that affects your kind of like mental performance and well-being in a positive way, because if you're on a post-workout high, right, um you're a lot more likely to do things because it's like, hey, I just got a good workout in, I feel good, I have the endorphins or whatever, uh things are going well, I'm in a good mood, let's call some leads, right? Versus if you don't work out in the morning, whether that's you know running, walking, weightlifting, swimming, whatever you're doing, it's easy to feel stressed and then be like, oh, I don't have time to follow up with leads, I can't, I'm doing so many other things, and then you just decide not to. So I'm actually wondering how much maybe of the willpower that you have and the consistency you have is almost derivative of the fact that you're also so committed to working out every morning, and it gives you, like, ironically, I know it takes energy to work out, but because you worked out, it gives you the energy to go do this follow up. Because I'll just say from my own personal life, like, I try to walk 3 or 4 miles every morning before I do anything else. Like, I literally wake up, walk my 3 or 4 miles, and I try to get to like 10,000 steps before mid morning every day. And on random days where I can't do that because something happens and something throws me off my schedule and I just can't get my walking in, I will say, at least for me personally, I get really restless.
I do too.
And it's like, oh my God, I feel stressed. I actually drink way more caffeine, way more coffee on days
Yes,
that I can't get my morning walk in, because that in a very tangible, again, I'm not a doctor, I don't understand all the biology, but in a very tangible way, it gives me energy. And so I actually require less coffee or caffeine on days that I get those walks in. Anyways, I'm just looking like, hey, every agent talks about the importance of following up. Every agent has probably been to seminars or listened to speakers or been at masterminds where they talk about time blocking. It's not some new novel strategy, and yet so few people actually do it, and you are one of those people who actually do it. I'm always just looking for what's that slight edge, what's that thing that you do differently in your life that allows you to show up so consistently in doing that. Because I mean, even amongst the Plat fam, we have over 300 agents in the Plat fam now, and you are one of the only people that I know actually, like, come hell or high water every day, you're following up with your leads for an hour. um that's it's one of the most common questions that we get is, how does Kimberly do it? How does she do it?
It's great that you're asking this question because I actually just built out this calculator for agents to use, and I'm happy to share it with you. Because I've had so many agents call me and ask me the same question. But if you take a look at your database, and let's say you have say 500 people in your database, right? Or yeah, we'll say 500 because I have 6,200 leads in my database. We'll get to my numbers in a minute. And say your average home price is 275, like we won't make it expensive. And say your average commission rate is 2.75. On average, 7% of your database is going to convert this year. And so if you can convert even half of that, your database is already a gold mine. So let's say the buyer or the agent has the 500 people and all the things I just said, their potential annual GCI is $264,000, 35 transactions in their database.
Yep, just from those leads. Yep.
So if you look at your database and it's existing, it's past clients, it's current clients, it's new leads, it's old leads, it's cold leads, it's people that have said no. No to me is like, hey, I'll talk to you later, right? And so when you look at your numbers, it will make you sick to your stomach, because when I ran my numbers, and this is why I created this app into my website, I just built it actually yesterday. $3.2 million in annual GCI is sitting in my database at 434 transactions. If I even convert freaking half of that on top of my development,
Yep.
what? Why wouldn't I be calling my leads when the money has been sitting in my database all along? And now I have fellows. So I see people who who have listed their home and sold it. Now a lot of them are in Florida and outside of my area, but I could have gotten that referral, potentially of half of those. And so it's like I'm seeing people convert in my database.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh man. And then when I make my calls from these old leads that other agents had on my team, and I hear, oh, well, we already bought, or we bought last month, we bought 6 months ago. I'm like, I had 3 of them this morning when I was calling my leads before this podcast tell me that they've already bought. And I'm like, oh, okay. But then there's always wins. So It's like you can't let that defeat you. You just have to keep going.
Now, I think I asked you this question at the mastermind, but I'm going to ask again because obviously there's a lot of people listening to this podcast that were not at the platform mastermind last December. If you were to parse out kind of hypothetically what your income was last year, and let's say that you never followed up with leads, like you never time blocked, you never followed up with leads, you only worked the leads that were so warm that like they called you or they messaged you, how much less money would you have made last year? So I guess a different way of asking the same question is, how much of the income you had last year was because you followed up with your lead?
So that's a great question. I had 4 referrals. I had 27 deals that were sphere of influence, and 6 Google LSA leads, which those are those come and get me leads.
Yep.
So take that out of my 75 transactions. So what's that? 30 something, roughly 30 something deals I would have done if I didn't follow up with a single human.
So let's just round up and say 40, because let's be super conservative. And how many total deals did you do?
75, and 26 of those were platform marketing leads.
Well, that's actually an awesome stat. I'll have to write that down. So you did 75 deals last year, and over 25 of them, so a third of your business last year, you can directly track to platform.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's awesome. I'm going to have to remember that and use that.
I had my notes ready for you.
Yeah, I'm going to have to use that in retargeting ads, so I'll have to make sure that I make a mental note of that after the show. But okay, so if you did 75 total transactions last year, again, I'm rounding up because I'm trying to be conservative, that if you had never followed up with a single lead, just because of Sphere and referral business and whatnot, you still would have done 40, but that's like half your business, right?
Yeah.
So like, in other words, it doubled your business last year. You added another 35 transactions, which is about
Yeah.
3 a month, right? If you put it on an, if you, I mean, obviously I know that you probably do more business in the spring and summer than you do in
Hmm.
January, but if we average it out over an equal 12 months out of the year, you are literally averaging 3 extra deals every month, 12 months a year, because you're following up. So if you're
Hmm.
listening to this podcast right now, whether you're in the platform marketing program or not, if that is not enough of a motivation for you to get off your ass and start calling leads and following up with leads, I don't know what will, because 3 extra transactions a month, even if you live in a really, really affordable area where homes are, only 200, 250,000, that's still like an extra $250,000 a year of GCI. I
Yeah.
mean, at a minimum, I was like, I don't know how you can come home to your wife or to your husband or kids and look them in the eye and be like, I'm lazy. I'm too lazy to spend
Or
an
I did everything I could,
yeah, like
and you
spend an
didn't.
hour a day following up with leads, and our family could be making an extra $250,000 a year. But I don't like calling my leads for an hour a day, because again, we're not talking about 4 hours a day of calling
No.
leads or six. I
Now I
mean,
do spend sometimes 4 hours a day because I'm like a crazy person and it becomes a game. But I mean,
but
again,
that's probably after. I'm assuming when you do that, though, to be fair, it's probably because you maybe skipped a day or two and you're trying to
yep,
play catch up, right? So it's just like
exactly.
the the average is like I spend an hour a day. I time block an hour from usually from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. is when I call and follow up with leads. If you do that for a year, what Kimberly just said here is that added 3 deals every month to her business. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people listening to this podcast that didn't even do 35 total deals last year, and you're getting that just because of the extra lead follow up you do that most agents don't. So again, I mean, like, imagine going home to your husband or wife and telling them like, hey, I turned down an extra 250K income that probably is enough to like retire your spouse if you're like a 2 income household. It's just because I don't want to call leads every day from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Because I mean, it is icky. And I mean, I know people are like, oh, but she's probably just so good at it. No, there's like, I've been letting my brother sit in when I'm calling my leads, right? Trying to teach him
Yeah,
the
yep.
ways of the road. And there's times I get like choked up. And there was one call that I was like, and I just hung up because like I just got so tongue tied. But I mean, granted, it's a stranger, so thank God. But still, like,
Yeah.
I mean, most of my business came from calling leads. And then, of course, I have that sphere of influence, but that's past clients and things like that. So if I look at my pillars of leads, at the end of the day, I need to call my damn leads
Yep.
and love more of my sphere. And I failed. I feel like I failed last year because it was so transitional for me. But even during my transitional time, I still met my floor of 20 million and I hit 75 transactions, but I still held myself to the non-negotiables no matter what was going on in my personal life, professional life, whatever, because I knew at the end of the day I had a job that had to be done. So with all that, I need to pour more into calling more leads because 26, say 40 of calling leads and then say 40 from sphere of influence and everything. Now I need to know this year I need to do more client appreciation events and love on those past clients and love on my sphere because everything else is just noise.
Anytime I have a conversation with you, Kimberly, I have to bring this up because there's going to be people listening to this,
And I know where you're going.
yeah, that don't know this about you, and they're thinking, well, I bet Kimberly just has more time than me. I'm so busy, right? Like I don't have maybe the time that she has because she's already a successful realtor or whatever. It's like Kimberly is a mom, right? You have horses and you like barrel race in rodeos for people who know what barrel racing is. She was a former D1 Olympic swimmer that was actually on her way to qualify for the Olympics. Um, you are a volunteer paramedic in your community.
No,
Um,
I've been in EMS for 12 years, full time for 9 of those 12, and I'm still part time paid
pay,
paramedic.
okay. So like that's even more intense. Like you're like on the payroll. It's a normal job. Yeah.
I do like two 24-hour shifts a month. And I
Yeah.
call my leads while I'm on the squad, by the way. Like I will sit at the fire station and just call leads until we catch a call.
So I want to repeat that in case anyone's just kind of like listening to this podcast while they're driving and maybe they're not paying attention or something. She is selling, I mean, this year she'll do somewhere between 30 and $40 million of sales volume and she's an is it EMT, EMS?
Paramedic.
Okay. So you ride around in ambulances and you rescue and heal sick people who are hurt.
In lame terms, yeah.
Yes.
Ditch doctors.
Yeah. And I mean, so that's like a super stressful job, because I'm sure you've seen some horrific, traumatic injuries and situations where you're the first responder showing up, right, to a car crash or whatever. And you find time in your life to do that. You are a mom. Like I said, you like barrel race and rodeos as a hobby. You sell 30, 40 million a year, and yet you still find time, an hour a day, to call and follow up with your leads. It's not that you're finding time, it's that all that other stuff is possible because you're time blocking time to follow up with your leads. So anyone who's listening to this who might be tempted to think that, oh, I'm just so busy, like I can't do what Kimberly does. It's like, I promise you, I guarantee you that Kimberly is busier than you are, whoever's listening to this.
Well, and I just want to say this too is calling my leads is what got me to where I am. And I know they say what you've always done will not get you to where you want to go. I call bull crap on that because when I slacked off on calling my leads, when I had the brokerage and everything going on, I watched my sales volume just plummet. And so, then I had like a vengeance out and I was calling like 1,000 people a week and I built my business back up. But by doing the boring task of calling leads, it's keeping me where I want to go. Like it's taking me to where I want to go. And I have control over my business because the more leads I call, the more connections I have, the more conversations I have, the more closings I have. And it's like these big time agents who are like, well, I just don't want to call my leads. It's dumb. I mean, at the end of the day, it's bringing business in, why not?
Well, you are a real estate sales professional at the end of the day, right? And you are in a sales job. And so
Yeah.
if you're not willing to call your leads and follow up with your leads, like, I mean, sometimes I tell people you might be in the wrong industry. Like maybe you shouldn't be a realtor if you're just, I'm not comfortable calling leads. I want to work with referrals. It's like, okay, great. That's fine. You can still make a pretty good living only working with your sphere and referrals, but you're probably leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table that you could have brought home for your family. So, all right, any conversation with Kimberly Music would be incomplete and insufficient if we didn't talk about following up with your leads. So we've checked that box of the conversation. Now I'm getting to the Q&A portion of the interview, where I'd like to ask some questions that were actually submitted to us from the Platfam.
Really? We got questions from the platform?
Yeah, I made a post in the Facebook group this morning and said, hey, I'm interviewing Kimberly today. What questions do you have for her? We'll get to the most important ones first. Jill Lightfoot says, why don't you put her on the spot like you did me and make her name her favorite people in the Platfam? So Kimberly, give me 3 or 4 names of your favorite people in the Platfam.
Catherine, you're so unique to me, by the way, just FYI.
Okay, I don't count. Who else?
Oh man, okay.
Okay, Catherine, can you describe to people who Catherine is for people who don't know
Okay,
Catherine?
she's my account manager, and she puts up with me because we'll have our weekly calls, and I'll say I'm going to get this done, and I never get it done, and then I'll just randomly send her like 5 or 6 listing videos randomly, and I'm like, hey, by the way, these have been listed for a few weeks, but here's all my videos all at once. Thanks. Okay, bye. And then Diana, because she tells me on who's on the wait list in my local market. So that's really fun. And then I have to give it to Kara because she's the whole reason why I'm here with Platfam.
Kara
Newton.
Farah. Yep.
Farah Farr.
Yeah, I'm always, Kara, if you're listening to this, I'm literally always gonna refer to you as Kara Newton.
Me too.
It's Kara Farah technically because she told me it rhymes. So, okay, cool. Well, Jill, your question has been asked and answered. I have another question from Bailey Tisdale. What is your favorite book recommendation to others? Like, what is your one book that you feel is a must read for realtors?
Gap in the Gain.
The Gap in the Gain. Okay.
I don't know who wrote it, but I got recommended it a few years ago, and I have read it probably 4 times since.
I believe that's Dan Sullivan and what is the dude's name? Let me look it up. I know Dan Sullivan is the co-author of that book.
And that is like the whole basis of calling my leads. When I'm only seeing like I've called 20 and I have a goal of 100 for that day, I'm like, but look how far I've came, right? Not how far I have to go.
Okay.
So that book changed my life.
All right, so the book is The Gap and the Gain. I just looked it up here. It's by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. I agree. I've read that book. It's awesome. All right. So Bailey, we've answered your question. Billy Joe asked, and by the way, I literally just interviewed Billy Joe yesterday,
I
so her
saw.
platform podcast episode will be coming out shortly. She asked, ask Kimberly how much she loves me. Scale of 1 to 10.
I'm gonna give her a 100.1.
Okay. Catherine asked the same thing.
Oh, Catherine, man, I think I'd have to give my left kidney to her because she puts up with so much from me.
All right. When then we have another question from Matt Luce. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but his last name is Loos. Matt asks, when you get a lead, how many times do you reach out to them before you stop reaching out and then kind of just trust the retargeting?
Either someone's gonna inform me that they're dead, their phone number no longer is in service, they put out a restraining order, or they buy from me.
So I mean, like you will follow up with someone technically infinite times. Like there's
Yeah, like
no
I just closed the lead from 5 years ago.
so there's no like number of reach outs like, hey, I've already called them 10 times, I'm gonna stop.
I have a lead I called 76 times before they picked up the phone and bought from me.
That's amazing. Okay. Do you prefer text or calling? This is another question from Matt. Okay,
Well,
calling.
I call and then if they don't answer, I text.
Okay. So
Yeah.
always call, but if they don't answer, then for sure you'll send them a
And I
text.
do not leave voicemails. It takes too much time.
And then we got a question from Tamara. She asked, she spends so much time calling leads. She is the queen. Can you ask her how much time she time blocks in a normal day? And it's an hour, right? Like you already kind of answered that.
There's some days it'll be 2 hours. There's some days I don't call leads, but then I make up for it on another day.
All right, that's the questions. That's the questions that we have here. So guys, you kind of got like a behind the scenes look at a day in the life of Kimberly Music. Now we've talked about that new development a lot and how that's going to change things for you and your
It
family.
launches next month. Like slabs are starting to be poured next month, like 1 month away.
What is something else if you don't use that and you can't say the development, right? Because that's obviously so cool. What is something else in your life or business that you're really excited about in this coming year that's different from maybe what you've been up to the last couple of years?
So me and my husband, we have been partners in this for like the last 4-ish years, working together every single day and all the things. But he has stepped away from me and he has gone to be with the builder, um, basically being his right hand man. And it's such an opportunity for Dylan to get into that and for our family because now we're not going to be a single income family. I don't know when it will become a dual income family, but I am so ready for it. Um, Really, for me, and my excitement in my personal life is seeing my husband step into the identity he's always wanted, but just never had that opportunity. And
Sure.
now that opportunity is here from prior opportunities with the development, you know?
Yeah.
So, like,
Yep.
that's super exciting to see. I'm sad that he's not going to be a realtor at some point and not my right hand person, but I'm excited for this opportunity for him.
Yeah, but it's totally kind of 1 + 1 = 3 kind of aligned with building your brand and your sales
Mhm.
volume too, that now, Dylan's actually working for the developer, and that obviously just strengthens that relationship even further uh
Yeah.
and deeper. I have one more question I want to ask to you as we wrap this up here. When you think about platform marketing and the plat fam, right, and the sense of community, what does that mean to you, and how much value does that add to your business, like having access to the private Facebook group we have with everyone, and like obviously attending the annual mastermind and whatnot? um if someone were not in the plat fam, like how would you describe how much value that adds to your business? Because that's something on like a sales call, if like Diana is talking to someone, or someone's inquiring about platform, we usually honestly don't put a huge emphasis on that, because the reason they're joining platform isn't to get access to a Facebook group, it's for us to handle all their marketing, right? And then they find out over a couple months, oh wow, there's actually a ton of value in this community. It's almost like I joined a high-end mastermind and I don't have to pay for the mastermind, because it's just kind of like in like it's included with this marketing agency I signed up with, right? Like, how would you put that in your own words for those listening to this podcast right now that are not in the plat fam? Like what that adds to your life and to your business, like the plat fam.
So for me, I was part of a bunch of different other communities before Platform, and honestly, my only community now is Platform. Um, this is going to sound so counterintuitive, Tim. I don't even know how to say it in words, but I'm just going to say it as a brain dump. But the community means so much to me that I'd be willing to get rid of. Not willing. Let me not say that, but I would be okay. Like we didn't do any marketing. I still got to be a part of the community, right? And paid for the community. Like that's how much value just the community in itself holds, and like the marketing's almost like the bonus, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. So it's like if like Platform repositioned itself as like, hey, we're actually a mastermind now for realtors and we don't
Yeah.
even offer marketing services anymore. Like you would still want to be a client just for that.
Yeah, because there's so much value just in the community and in what you bring to the table. And then just having the weekly strategy calls with Catherine, like that's a huge help. And then like it's almost like everything else that happens is like a bonus. It's like the cherry on top for me.
Yeah, because I know, I mean, honestly, over the last couple of years, like we don't need to name names because I don't like bashing other companies or whatever, but there have been other lead gen programs and other marketing stuff that you were a part of. And a lot of it worked sometimes, other times it didn't. But I know that you've paused pretty much everything else and you've
Mhm.
gone all in on the social media ads with a platform. And obviously your business is blowing up as a result. And most importantly, the vast majority of that is now going to take home pay for you
Mhm.
guys. Like it's not going to subsidize a team that's losing money. It's like actually going into your personal take home pay so that you and your family can live a totally different life than the life that you maybe would have been able to live 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
So congratulations to you. That's awesome. Kimberly, would you mind sharing your cell phone number in case anyone's listening to this and they want to connect with you, pick your brain?
Yeah. So it's 912-230-6743.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next episode of the Platform Marketing Show. Kimberly, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Tim.